Hi, this is Michael Marashlian at Desert Simple Ranch. And it was 2 years ago in 2021 when I interviewed my good friend Paul Webb, who was visiting at our rural Tucson, Arizona property. Now, this was no ordinary visit, as Paul was in the process of traversing the entire country by bicycle. Now, at age 70 this year, he has returned, and Paul has not stopped riding his bike.
Paul Webb, you're back. And,
Michael, so good to see you again.
So this time you came by train or a bus, or how did you arrive?
No, I did it again. I came on my bicycle. In fact, I got it right here behind me.
That's not only his bicycle, but it's like his home. It's his kitchen. It's everything he owns.
It's everything.
Yeah, it's amazing. In fact, we should take a closer look at that before we go.
Sure,
we'll do that on this clip.
You bet. I call it my RV.
Yeah, well, it is recreational and it is a vehicle, but it's a stretch. So this is the third time you've been here, and we're here at my retro trailer here in rural Tucson, Arizona, a little bit outside of Saguaro National Park to give you some perspective. And you were here a couple years ago, your first loop, and you'll tell us about that in a moment. Then you did it again. You were back with me last year.
Right.
We didn't shoot any video that time, but here on your third year,
right,
because of the fact that this was going to be your final go, looping around the country on a bike. But you have some news to share with us, which you will hear in a little bit. But so tell us what's happening. What you been up to?
Well, I left here and continued on the what we call the box. It's the four corners of the country: San Diego, California, to Jacksonville, Florida, Kittery, Maine, that's up the East Coast, and all the way across to Walla Walla, Washington, and then down the coastline back to San Diego again. And doing that, I could do it in 8 months, which is 1,000 miles a month. It's 8,000 miles around, but I take 12 months. And the reason that I do that is because...
What a lightweight, man.
Yeah, what a lightweight. It's because you can't get too soon up to New England because you run into too cold of a weather. I'm good camping down to about 20 degrees, but anything below that, it's fingers and toes.
Now, I want to reiterate, for people who may have not seen the first video interview we did a couple of years ago, that there's no RV or van, following Paul. And he doesn't check into, your Motel 6s along the way. He just does this on the road. Now, tell us about how you do that. How do you sleep?
Right. Well, I run
and there's no support team. There's nobody following him.
I go about 45 miles a day, somewhere 42, 45 is the average. And that takes pretty long because I stop and rest and I eat.
And you're all alone.
All alone.
Right.
I do ride on the interstates, which is allowed in 11 of the 50 states here in the United States.
No, not always, but much of your travel is on interstates.
Most of it's on the interstate,
Okay.
especially the big states, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona. And while I'm riding throughout the day, I'm eating, I'm hydrating, I'm breathing, doing breathing exercises.
And again, we've mentioned this, I think, in the previous, but for people who haven't been with us before, haven't heard the story, you bring out a barbecue and you throw on some hot dogs and hamburgers, right?
No, I eat very, very minimal in the sense that it's a plant-based. I've been plant-based now 52 years, but the days are about 7 to 9 hours long. And in that 9 hours, I'm able to cover safely.
And you're fueling all along.
I'm fueling all. I'm eating all, and I'm stretching at times. I'm hydrating. I'm using the facilities of nature to make sure my body stays healthy, and I'm meeting great people along the way. I mean, I pretty much live.
And sometimes you stay with them.
Yes, sometimes people will meet me in places
like
and
here.
Go, yeah. Well, you're welcome to stay, behind our garage or on our property. Some people will even invite me into their homes. 2 years ago, when I started doing this, because of COVID, I just, would gracefully decline.
Right.
And say, I'll sleep outside. If you got a section of your property, your farm, your ranch, that would be perfect. And so my days are day after day of riding a bicycle. Now, I've been...
a little more detail on the overnight stays.
Sure,
Sometimes you're behind a store or a church or behind a gas station.
Churches,
it's not always, luxury.
Yeah, it's not luxury.
Campsites.
No campsites. I do.
Okay, you
yeah,
do
I will
use
do
campsites.
campsites.
Do you use tent? Do you have a tent?
No, I don't use a tent.
Not at all.
Yeah, what I'm doing
Yeah.
is, I think my head, this is, I'm usually riding with this on, so I have a light that I have all the time with me. I'll take it off for the interview.
Yeah.
But I have what's called a bivouac.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cover for a sleeping bag.
Yeah,
I
like
just
a
sleep on the ground.
military scenario.
I just
Yeah.
sleep on the ground next to my bicycle.
Right.
And I find a place that's safe. I'll come into a small town, and if I don't sense something and I don't get the right vibe of a place,
Like something could be a little rough around the edges.
I immediately call the police.
Right.
I call the police and ask them, where do you suggest? And they'll tell me, and then they'll actually come by and check on me in the middle of the night.
That's pretty sweet.
Which
Yeah.
is really nice. And so once I tell them who I am and what I'm doing, and they see
What you're up to.
what
Yeah.
I'm up to, and they're
Yeah.
going, oh, this guy's riding for
Otherwise,
a charity.
they'll get reports of some alien who has come into town.
Well, that's the other thing. This is what for sun protection, I'm completely covered up. And so I'm always covered. I don't have any, I even wear long pants. So my face is covered up, my nose is covered up to my cheeks. I mean, I'm completely covered up. And at times I forget, Michael, I'll walk
That
into...
you look a little bizarre.
I
You walk into a 7-Eleven like
I go
that.
into a gas station and little kids will hide behind their parents.
Yeah, like there's a crime.
There's an
underway.
alien.
Now, as a lifelong cyclist myself, this is not normal garb, for
No.
any kind of a cyclist. But your background is in skiing, snow skiing.
Correct. That's why the ski goggles.
Yeah, so that's comfortable with him, but it works.
Oh, it works
Protects
great.
your eyes.
Yeah, my
gives
eyes
you,
are covered. I have-
shielding from the sun.
Sure.
And
That's
if
all in
stones hitting it, it's not going to be a problem.
I've had what I
Yeah.
think was a bird hit me.
Wow.
And
So with a typical glasses type goggles, that would have been a problem. But
absolutely.
can handle
And
it.
dryness. So this protects with the wind, drying out my eyes, sun protection, and also from any foreign objects. I
Right,
mean, obviously
right.
you'll run into swarms of bees at times.
Sure.
I've had it all.
Yeah,
I call it, I ride 100% comfort.
right.
I
Well-
don't work through pain. Yeah.
Yeah, but you've also conditioned yourself to the point
Correct.
where that is comfortable for you. Why don't you take that off so
Sure.
we see what you look like now that we've covered the subject of this bizarre gear that you wear, but it works.
It works, and you're right. It is bizarre. People don't know who I am. They can't tell my age. They don't know anything. And then they see like a little bit of the white hair and the white beard. Next thing they're going, it's an old man.
Yeah.
It's an old guy on a bicycle.
Now we're both 70 this year, by the way.
70 years old.
And how many miles do you do in a year?
I do 8,000 miles a year.
8,000 miles.
Yeah.
So what are you up to now? This is you.
Well, this
we had
is
heard
new.
before
Yeah.
that you were going to do this 3 times.
Correct. My initial 3 times around was because it's 8, 16, 24,000, which is equal to circumnavigating the planet at the equator. I would have done the equivalent.
So that was the target, and that's
the target
why.
was to
Okay.
do 24,000 miles in
Okay.
3 years. Because some people say they rode their bicycle around the planet, but how many of them actually did the mileage? Because you got to take a freighter somewhere. You got to
Right.
go across an ocean someplace.
Sure.
And so I thought, I'm going to do the actual mileage. I took the same route first 2 times and the 3rd time. And as I started again in California, I would, in the past, say to people, I'll see you next year because I'm coming back on a 3rd loop. Well, after I finished the 2nd loop and started the 3rd loop, I didn't have that to say anymore to people where I'll see you next year because I was
This was the
completing.
end.
This was
Yeah.
the end.
Yeah.
And I felt I was missing something. Something was not right. I wanted to come back again.
And you're far too young to hang them up.
I got plenty left.
Yeah.
So I decided I would say I'd come back, I'll see you again next year. Instead of going around 3 times, if I went around 12 times,
No kidding.
12 times would be 12 times 8 would be 100,000 miles. And if you do the calculation, if another 10 years of riding, 2 already completed, I will finish this in 2033, November 28th, on my 80th birthday. So I will have completed 100,000 miles in 12 years on a bicycle, inspiring people, then inspiring me to keep going because I get to what? I get to see you again next year.
So you're telling me that I'm not done with you yet, that I need to leave the light on for you for a few more years here.
You're going to see me another 10 years. I've completed
Wow.
2. I'm in the middle of the 3rd, just only 580 miles into it, because I've got to get off across the bottom. And if you look at it, it's very simple. If you look at the United States picture, it's winter across the bottom, spring up the East Coast, summer across the top, and fall down. And it's 2,400 miles, 1,200, 3,200 miles, 1,200. And that gives you your 8,000 miles.
Well, let's get to the point. Why are you doing this? What inspires you to do this? I mean, it's very inspirational
Right.
to other, people watching. That's like, if here's Paul riding across the country multiple times at 70 years old, and I can't ride my bike down to the corner market to get a loaf of bread. I mean,
Yeah.
why are you doing this?
So, through some circumstances of meeting some great athletes over the years, I met a gentleman who was associated with the Challenged Athletes Foundation. And he got me
Which is
involved.
on the hat.
Which
Here's
is on the
logo.
hat. That's why I
Yeah.
took my helmet off and put this hat
We'll
on.
zoom in on
Plus
that.
my hair is all whacked up because it's under a helmet all day long. I don't care.
Yeah, mine's messed up too.
So my point is that he introduced me to the Challenge Athletes Foundation, and I fell in love with their process,
Their
their
mission.
administration, their mission, everything they do to help challenged athletes and a veterans division with athletes who need sports equipment for amputees, prosthetics, people that have had birth defects, injuries through military, and they want to participate in sports. And I have a say.
And it benefits their overall health, their
Oh,
well-being,
it gets them off the couch.
their mental health as well.
Mental and
Yeah.
physical. It helps them
Yeah, and spiritual.
re-enter into the community.
Yeah,
Gets them off
feel
the
like
couch.
a part of the world. Yeah.
Please participate in sports. You participate in life, and that is my mantra. So
So there's a two-prong, or more prongs than that, I'm sure, how you benefit CAF and the athletes, in that you are inspirational in what you do, even though maybe you're disabled in some ways. But the fact that you're able to push yourself, to such limits, seemingly without effort, but also you're a fundraiser for CAF.
Correct. Somehow my body is responding in kind to the fact that I can ride 40, 45 miles a day with no sore muscles, day after day, with no days off. And that is just an amazing thing to be able to participate and do that with a 32-pound steel-framed bike with 100 pounds of gear, because I've got to have all 4 seasons with me.
I mean, it's amazing, but so how do you do it? I mean, you believe that any of us have the capability, if we apply ourselves, to do not necessarily what you're doing, but maybe even more or maybe less. But how do you do what you do?
There's 5 things that enable me to do what I do, and that's oxygenated blood, breathing, nutrient-dense food, the food that I eat, elimination, hydration, and sleep.
Yeah, we all need those things.
Everybody
And the
does.
better we do them, the more we can do, the healthier
and the
we
more
are.
graceful you are
Yeah.
in aging.
Yeah,
Or the more graceful you are as an athlete recovering from an injury.
right.
Because all of these things, 5 things, need to be in balance. And I'm really lucky that I found it inside of me to find these things in balance, because it enables me to do this athletic endeavor. And which one of my peaks I'm kind of proud of is from Fort Collins, Colorado to Crescent City, California. That's 5 mountain ranges from Colorado to California coastline, 67 days without a day off. And so that's over 2 months
But
of riding
as we've
every
discussed
single
before,
day.
in a way, every day's a day off for you, right? I mean, that's the way
Kinda
you see life.
That's perfect. Yeah, I never thought of it that way.
There's a lot of people that they wait all week until the weekend so they can get out and ride their bike. You get to do it every day.
I'm so fortunate.
Yeah.
I am a lucky person. and it's interesting because I seem to attract luck, and at the same time I meet other lucky people.
Now, you meet a lot of people along your route, every year doing this whole loop.
Yeah.
And they must think you're crazy or wacky or sometimes genius, or how do they respond to
It's
you?
50-50. I've had some amazing responses.
Yeah.
One response was on the interstate coming up to an Arizona highway patrolman. And he was on the side having just given out a ticket, and the car had pulled away, and he was all by himself. And as I came by, I motioned to him, "Would you take a picture of me?" He goes, "Absolutely." So he comes out to take a picture of me because of beautiful mountains in the background.
Where are you at this time?
I was on the interstate in Arizona with a highway patrolman.
Okay.
And he says to me, "What are you doing?" I said, I'm riding my bicycle across the country for a charity, raising awareness. And he looks at me and goes, "I quit." I said, "Excuse me?"
What?
"I quit. I hate sitting here writing tickets to speeders. I want to do what you're doing." I find, just like that, "I quit. I'm going with you."
Well, that's inspirational.
He was so amazed that somebody was doing what I was doing, and he wanted to come with me.
Yeah.
So the people that I meet are 50-50. Some are going, "Wow, this is inspiring." Others are going, "You're nuts."
Well, for the perhaps handful of people or thousands or millions watching this, how can they follow you? How do they follow CAF?
Perfect. Challenged Athletes Foundation.
How do they learn more? Yeah.
They've allowed me to put up my own website, and so I can track the people who have seen me, who come to the through my efforts of riding a bicycle every day, who come to the charity. And my name is Paul Webb. And so if you look at The Webb Way,
we'll put it up on the screen for you.
WEBB, 2 B's, you'll be able to read more about what I do, follow me, link in with my social media, and see what I do on a daily basis. I have a formula that every day I'm able to focus on my physical endeavor to be able to bring the awareness so that people can channel their kindness to the joy of giving to a charity such as the Challenged Athletes Foundation.
And perhaps just as important is for you to realize that you can do something yourself to make your life a little bit better by picking up on some of what Paul's telling us.
Regardless of what charity that you're involved in.
Right.
Get out and move.
Yeah.
Get out and exercise.
We should be definitely one of our own best charities. And I think you put it really well when you said that the very best prescription drug that exists on this planet is exercise. It's free, has no negative side effects, and you can start now.
Perfect.
Man, so great
Michael.
to see you again, brother.
Oh, man,
all right.
Thank you.
And it seems like these years are clicking by faster and faster, so it'll be like
as I ride around,
next week
as I ride around the country seems to be getting smaller.
For you, yeah, maybe for all of us. That'd be great. So anyway, thanks so much, man.
My pleasure.